Hi everybody, Lori here for Simon Says Stamp. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a couple of fun projects to share with you that I made using the newest July card kit by Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to walk you through quickly the contents of the kit before I get to my projects. First up is the Through the Window 6x8" clear stamp set. This is a fun one with a window theme, different scenery. For sentiments, we have Missing You, Wish You Were Here, Thinking of You, Let's Get Away, and Happy Birthday. And then there's a bunch of different scenes that you can put through the window. And speaking of through the window, there's also a window trio die included in the card kit. And there are 3 different windows, like 3 different shapes of windows that can coordinate with the scenery images in the stamp set. So you could stamp your scenery. There's pattern paper I'm going to show you. There's a stencil. You can do all different things. I'm even going to use a photo on one of my cards that peeps through the window. For the stencil, we have the new Landscapes 6x6" stencil. And I'll show you what this one looks like. You have all the different things for landscapes. Waves, water, seagulls, clouds, a border of clouds, a sun or a moon, all the different things you can build up to blend a scene that could go through the window. And then there is a pack of Stellar embellishment mix. Look at these kind of gold iridescent stars, great for filling a shaker or just adding as embellishments. There's also a new 0.5 ounce bottle of Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect craft glue. I'm super excited to try that little mini glue. Also in the kit, 12 double-sided sheets of the La La Land Crafts in the City 6x6" paper. These are double-sided and they have the cutest little city scenes through all the different seasons, through the rain, through the fall, through the winter. And some look European, some look like New York, and I love them. There's not a bad one in the bunch, and I'm going to use one of them when I'm, going to look through the window at a city scene. There's also a Tim Holtz Scorched Timber Distress Ink Cube. You're going to get a half sheet of acetate if you want to create a shaker. Perfect for that. For a shaker, you're also going to get a 4th sheet of Simon Says Stamp white adhesive foam strips. These are delightful when you're making shakers. To put it all together, you get a mesh bag. I have so many of these mesh bags, and my family tries to steal them because they're so handy dandy. For cardstock, you get a sheet of Peacock, a sheet of banana, and a sheet of ivory. These are all 100 pound. Well, the ivory is 110 pound. Perfect for a sturdy card base. So I chose this city scene here for my window. It reminds me so much of our time when we lived in Germany. The view outside our window was a lot like this pattern paper, and I really love the color combinations, the pop of yellow and grays and white, and then the kind of pinky rosy trees in the background. It's a great kind of fallish color combination. So I die cut the arched window out of white cardstock. I'm going to make a white window. You could customize your window. You want to make a black window, a peacock window. I did white. I thought it would have a nice contrast looking out that window. I'm taking a pen to trace around my die cut because I'm going to just freehand cut this with scissors so that it fits perfectly right behind the window frame. And then I'm going to kick this old school. Kicking it old school, gonna just cut it with the scissors. Do you remember the time before we had all the dies and you had to cut things with scissors? Sometimes I miss those days, but boy, do I appreciate the coordinating dies. I do. Okay, so here you have your scenery. Fits perfectly behind the window. You could make this a shaker. Back that window with acetate. Fill it with those stars. I trimmed a panel of Peacock cardstock for my background. I prepped it with the Simon Says Stamp powder tool. Inking up a sentiment from that Through the Window stamp set. It says, Thinking of You. I used Versamark ink to ink up the stamp set, pouring on some Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder. If I forget to mention a supply, I'll have everything linked in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Heating that with the heat gun. And so this is going to be my background panel. Peacock with a white embossed sentiment. All that's left to do is adhere this to a white card base. I did trim the Peacock panel slightly smaller so you could have a thin white border around the edge. And I just feel like I don't know what it is about a white border around an edge, but it just toots my flute. Okay, and then I'm going to try out this new little bottle of Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect Craft Glue. Let me tell you something. I consider myself a glue snob. I'm kind of also a pasta snob and a French fry snob and a chocolate snob, but I'm very particular about my glue. And I got to tell you, this little bottle of glue works pretty darn good. It comes out easy, very effortlessly smooth. It didn't clog. I'm kind of zhuzhing the windows open a little bit here. I don't know. I like them when they're kind of halfway tilted open. I know you're probably going to have to flatten them if you put it in an envelope, but I like the open look for the photography and for the video. Okay, so a little tape runner on the back of that. And you could also pop it up. That would look fabulous too. This card is finished. I love this pattern paper. It looks good with that peacock background, white embossed sentiment. It's very clean. And I'm going to make another one because I just had to. I had to do it. I printed off a photo of Hank the Tank. I'm going to die cut another one of these windows. This time I'm doing the kind of rectangular window and did it out of white cardstock. And then I'm going to trim this photo down so it fits perfectly behind this die cut window. Again, kicking it old school, just using my scissors and going around the edges. I'm eyeballing it. This is the redneck method. No measuring, you just eyeball it and you redneck it. And it works like a charm, I'm telling you. Okay, more of this glue. You could pop this up. You could back it with acetate, make it a shaker. Lots of fun things to do to zhuzh up your window. I just think this is so cute. I'm thinking about sending this card to my mom. She loves Hank. Hank loves my mom. And we miss her. And it's kind of a fun card if you have somebody that, loves your pet. And you could say, my pet's missing you. Just taking a minute for the glue. Can I tell you? I love it. Okay. Gonna stamp another sentiment. Missing you from the Through the Window stamp set. I trimmed a little what do you call this? A little sentiment strip of black cardstock. I'm going to emboss the Missing You in white. So I'm prepping it with the powder tool. And then I'm going to ink this up with Versamark ink. I have a new Versamark ink. It's nice and juicy. And I don't have to stamp it twice to make it nice. One time is good enough when that ink pad is new and juicy. Pouring on Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder. And then I'll heat this with a heat gun. But there's so many fun things you can do with a window. Put a photo. Put some cash. I was thinking what a fun grad card that would be with I don't know if you could somehow make it looks like cash is hanging out through the window. I was just spitballing. Gift card. Different things, Okay, so I trimmed this just a little bit smaller using my little mini guillotine trimmer. And I decided to do one of my favorite things. Because Hank the Tank deserves it. I'm going to strip it up on the background. So I have another Peacock panel here. That Peacock cardstock came in the card kit. And then I went ahead and trimmed a bunch of strips of solid color cardstock. This is a mixture of Simon Says Stamp, solid color cardstock, and some Concord 9th. I love them both. They're my favorites to use. And I didn't measure the strips. I like it when there's a variation of widths of strips. For me, I dig it. Okay, and I went all warm tones, pink all the way to yellow on the spectrum. Flip this over, use the guillotine trimmer to just snip off the excess. And then I'm going to adhere this to another white card base. Again, I trimmed the Peacock panel smaller to give a little white border around the edge. My tape runner ran out. Here's the thing about tape runner. It's a love-hate relationship. It's so handy-dandy. I don't know if you're like me, but I go through it like water. I'm always having to refill my tape runner. That's where the glue is nice, But when you're doing things like stripping it up, I feel like tape runner works a little better when you want a dry adhesive. Anyway, I popped up the window, popping up the sentiment. I like how you can nestle that right into the window and zhuzh open those shutters, honey, because Hank wants to say rough, rough. Okay, what do you think? Which one you like better? the European Fall or Hank the Tank. I mean, if you don't say Hank the Tank, then you better get on out of town. I'm just kidding. Check out the new July card kit with Simon Says Stamp. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.